return. Who are we? We are from the tribe of Judah, the so-called Negroid. We are the Jews of Scripture. How do you know? Beyond just the way that we look, that we are who we say we are. If you look at Jeremiah chapter 14, verse 2, it speaks of us. It says, Judah mourneth, and the gates thereof languish. They are black unto the ground. And the crowds of Jerusalem have gone up. When it says black into the ground, is the white man the color of dirt? Is the white man the color of the ground? Who's the color of the ground? The deeper you go, the darker you get. Jeremiah chapter 8, verse 21. For the hurt of the daughter of my people am I hurt. I am black. Astonishment has taken hold on me. So he's saying again, he's black. Will a man say he's black if he's not? Will a man say he's a black man and he's white? Of course not. That makes no sense. So the man says he's black. Chances are he's black. You may not like it. It may not be comfortable to you. But the people of the Bible, the Jews of Scripture, are black. In the Song of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 5 and 6, I quote, I am black, but calmly, ye daughters of Jerusalem, as the tents of Kedar, as the curtains of Solomon. Look not upon me, because I am black, because the sun has looked upon me. When the black man looks at the sun, he gets darker, a darker color of black. God made the sun. We're given pigmentation that protects us from the harmful radiation given off by the sun. Why? Because God loves us. Who doesn't have pigmentation? Who stands in the sun and gets burned? That's the so-called white man. Without suntan lotion, their ass is burned.
Lampshades Bible Study Series with Priest of the Most High, Sakuma Zingami Lambu.
Thank you for joining us here today, here at the Lampshades Bible Study Series. I am your host, Priest of the Most High, Sakuma Zingami Lambu. And we're continuing the book of Enoch, Decoded. Let's go ahead and dive right in. Chapter 71, verse 1. And it came to pass after this that my spirit was translated, and it ascended into the heavens. And I saw the holy sons of God stepping on flames of fire. Their garments were white, and their remnant and their faces shone like snow. Now, of course, hearing that, okay, when it says their garments were white and their remnant and their faces shone like snow. Okay, so hearing that, you would say, well, that seems like white people. No, it's not white people. The so-called self-proclaimed white man is not white. He's red. Okay, that's the reason why they used to be called the rednecks. But around in the 1700s, they came together and decided they didn't want to be called rednecks anymore. They want to be called white people or white. Okay, but in the background, that's the color of white. The so-called self-proclaimed white man don't look like that. They look reddish because they have no melanin, they have no pigmentation, so their blood shows through their skin, giving them a red tint. Okay, whereas in the Bible, or excuse me, in the book of Enoch, is describing the remnant and the faces like white, like snow. These particular type of angels. Okay, so it's not the so-called white man, but there are angels, watchers, so to speak, that do look white like snow. Okay, we know that because when Noah was born in the book of Enoch, his father said that he looked, like white like snow, basically. Okay, but he also looked like the watchers, those angels who was interacting with mankind on the earth. Okay, so I mean, that's just food for thought. Not all angels look like this, but there are the watchers who do look as it is described in the book of Enoch. Some of them look like white like snow. Okay, verse 4. And I saw two streams of fire, and the light of that fire shone like hyacinth. And I felt on my face before the Lord of spirits. Okay, let me pause there for a moment. Going back to what we were just talking about the watchers looking like white as snow. Okay, when the watchers came down to the earth to mate with the women of man, okay, they created for themselves bodies. Okay, those bodies the world calls the Neanderthal. Okay, that the Neanderthals mated with the women of men. Okay, and if you look at science, even though we don't put our faith inside, we put our faith in the scriptures. But like we have learned in past videos, that the things that you observe in the physical have spiritual implications. Okay, so the Neanderthals, if you look at the science, it says that all white people and these heathen nations have some percentage of Neanderthal DNA in them, except for the so-called Negro. Why? Because we are the original man, and we wasn't interbred with the Neanderthal, aka the fallen angels, the Ananokian. Okay, so the reason why the so-called white man and these heathen nations have a lighter skin, reddish tint, light-skinned, lighter than we are, that's for damn sure, is because they interbred with the fallen angels, and those angels were white like snow. So they don't look completely white, but they have a reddish pinkish tint because of that interbreeding with the fallen angels. So it goes to show you, all men aren't the same. Not everybody is even considered a man. Okay, we're at verse 5 in chapter 71. And I fell on my face before the Lord of spirits, and the angel Michael, one of the archangels, seized me by my right hand and lifted me up and led me forth into all the secrets. Into all the secrets. Verse 7. And he showed me all the secrets of righteousness, and he showed me all the secrets of the ends of heaven, and he showed me all the chambers of the stars and all the luminaries whence they proceed before the face of the holy ones. And he translated my spirit into the heaven of heavens, and I saw there as it were a structure built of crystals. And between those crystals, tongues of living fire. And my spirit saw the girdle which encircled that house of fire. And its four sides were streams full of living fire, and they were bound to that house. And round about were seraphim, cherubic, and uphanim, and these are they who sleep not, and guard the throne of his glory. And I saw the angels who could not be counted, even 1,000 thousands and 10,000 times 10,000s, circled that house. And Michael and Raphael and Gabriel and Phanuel and the holy angels who are above the heavens go in and out of that house. And they came forth from that house, and Michael and Gabriel and Raphael and Phanuel and many holy angels without number. And with them the head of days, his head white and pure as wool, and his garment undescribable. Okay, so with the fallen angels, they said that their faces was white like wool. Okay, not white like wool, but just white like snow, excuse me. But when it came to the Ancient of Days, the God of Israel, Yah, they didn't say his face, they said his hair was white like wool. Okay, wool, we know wool is like a lamb's wool, the same hair texture as so-called Negroes. Okay, so the watchers who fell and sinned against the Most High with the women or the daughters of men, their skin was white, but the Most High, his hair was white like wool. Okay, yeah, black features, or what we know to be Negro features, because we're the only one with woolly hair, that's for sure. And I fell on my face, and my whole body became relaxed, and my spirit was transfigured. And I cried with a loud voice with the spirit of power, and blessed and glorified and exalted him. And these blessings which went forth out of my mouth were well pleasing before that head of days. And that head of days came with Michael and Gabriel and Raphael and Phanuel and thousands and 10,000s of angels without number. A lost portion of the text is thought to have been located here. And the angel who talked with me came to me and greeted me with his voice and said unto me, This is the Son of Man who is born unto righteousness, and righteousness abides over him, and the righteousness of the head of days forsaketh him not. And he said unto me, he proclaims unto thee peace in the name of the world to come. Not this world, but the world to come. For from hence has proceeded peace since the creation of the world, and so shall it be unto thee forever and ever, forever and forever and ever. And all shall walk in his ways, since righteousness never forsaketh him. Now, of course, he's talking about Yeshua, okay, and that we're going to follow Yeshua, and Yeshua has never been forsaken in regards to righteousness, because he never broke the law. All of his life, he fulfilled the law, statutes, and commandments of the Lord, and he never broke it. He was the only one that ever did. So he was never forsaken. Righteousness never forsaken him. Verse 27. With him all their dwelling places, and with him their heritage, and they shall not be separated from him forever and ever and ever. Now, he's talking about the 144,000. Now, how you know that he's not? Because some people might say, well, he's talking about all men who's righteous. But the way that you know that he's talking about the 144,000 of the children of Israel specifically is because he's talking about heritage. The Gentiles never had the heritage of the Most High. Okay? Only the children of Israel, the Most High gave them a heritage and made them his chosen people. A heritage that we lost when we came into slavery, we came into being oppressed by the so-called white people and others. So when he says here, with him will be their dwelling place, and with him their heritage, he's letting you know he's talking about the children of Israel, because we're the ones whom was given heritage by the Most High. So he's saying that we're going to dwell with Yeshua HaMashiach, okay, and we're going to have our heritage again, and they shall not be separated from him forever and ever and ever. And so there shall be length of days, which that Son of Man and the righteous shall have peace and an upright way in the name of the Lord of spirits forever and ever. And that's the reason why we teach here at Lampshades Ministry that Yeshua HaMashiach died to reconciliate Israel back unto the God of Israel. Okay? He was sent to reconciliate us back unto the Father, because we had the covenant, but we broke the covenant. We had the heritage, but since we broke the covenant, the Most High took away all the things that he had given us when he first established Israel. And that's the reason why currently we're here in America, aka Babylon, not fully understanding our history, not fully understanding our heritage, not fully understanding who the God of Israel is, who our God is. Not the Israelites, but those of a Gentile state of mind who still consider themselves Negroes, so-called blacks. Chapter 72. Now, we're going to go into the luminaries, okay? I'm not going to pause too much when it comes to the luminaries. Those who have ears to hear, let them hear. And who can understand, let them understand. But we're just going to go straight through the luminaries, okay? Verse 1. The book of the courses of the luminaries of the heaven, the relations of each according to their classes, their dominion, and their seasons, according to their names and places of origin, and according to their months, which Uriel, the holy angel, who was with me, who is their guide, showed me. And he showed me all their laws, exactly as they are. and how it is with regard to all the years of the world and unto eternity, until the new creation is accomplished, which dureth until eternity. And this is the first law of the luminaries. The luminary, the sun, has its rising in the eastern portals of the heaven, and its setting is in the western portals of the heaven. Basically, from east to west. And I saw 6 portals in which the sun rises, and 6 portals in which the sun sets, and the moon rises and sets in these portals. And the leaders of the suns and the leaders of the stars, and those whom they lead, 6 in the east and 6 in the west, and all following each other in perfect order. Moreover, many windows to the right and left of these portals. And first there goes forth the great luminary named the sun, and his circumference is like the circumference of the heaven, and he is quite filled with illuminating and beating fire. Okay, so it's already letting you know here that the sun was made out of fire, which is so true. Even science realized that. The chariot on which he ascends, the wind drives, and the sun goes down from the heaven and returns through the north in order to reach the east, and is so guided that he comes to the appropriate that portal and shines in the face of the heaven. In this way he rises in the first month in the great portal, which is the fourth, those 6 portals in the east. And in the fourth portal, from which the sun rises in the first month, are 12 window openings, from which proceed a flame when they are opened in their season. When the sun rises in the heaven, he comes forth through the fourth portal 30. Okay, he comes forth through that fourth portal 30 mornings in succession, and sets accurately in the fourth portal in the west of heaven. And during this period the day becomes daily longer, and the night nightly shorter to the 30th morning. Okay, basically they're letting you know how they derived summertime, where the sun is longer, hotter, and the night is shorter. Okay, so they're going over how they derive summer based on the sun luminaries. On that day, the day is longer than the night by a 9th part, and the day amounts exactly to 10 parts, and the night to 8 parts. And the sun rises from the 4th portal, and sets in the 4th, and returns to the 5th portal of the east 30 mornings, and rises from it, and sets in the 5th portal. And then the day becomes longer by 2 parts, and amounts to 11 parts, and the night becomes shorter and amounts to 7 parts. And it returns to the east and enters into the 6th portal, and rises and sets in the 6th portal 1:30 morning, an account of its sign. On that day the day becomes longer than the night, and the day becomes double the night, and the day becomes 12 parts, and the night is shorter and becomes 6 parts. And the sun mounts up to make the day shorter and the night longer, and the sun returns to the east and enters into the 6th portal, and rises from it and sets 30 mornings. And when 30 mornings are accomplished, the day decreases by exactly 1 part, and becomes 11 parts, and the night 7. And the sun goes forth from the 6th portal in the west, and goes to the east, and rises in the 5th portal for 30 mornings, and set in the west again in the 5th western portal. On that day, the day decreases by 2 parts and amounts to 10 parts, and the night to 8 parts. And the sun goes forth from the 5th portal and sets in the 5th portal of the west, and rises in the 4th portal for 130 mornings on account of its sign, and sets in the west. On that day, the day is equalized with the night, and becomes of equal length, and the night amounts to 9 parts, and the day 9 parts. Okay, so now basically what they're talking about is that if you look at the months, okay, in the beginnings of the months, the day and the night are more equal. As the months get closer to the end of the months, you know, the days begin to become longer than the nights, as if the sun is kind of like growing stronger throughout the months. Okay, so in the beginning of the month, the night and the day are there's an equilibrium, but as you get to the 5th, the 6th, the 10th, the 15th, moving steadily towards the 30th or the 31st day of the month, the daytime starts to exceed the nighttime. That's basically what it's saying in general. And the sun rises from the portal and sets in the west, and returns to the east, and rises 30 mornings in the 3rd portal, and sets the west in the 3rd portal. And on that day the night becomes longer than the day, and night becomes longer than night, and day shorter than day, until the 30th morning, and the night amounts exactly to 10 parts, and the day to 8 parts. And the sun rises from the 3rd portal, and sets in the 3rd portal in the west, and returns in the east, and for 30 mornings rises in the 2nd portal in the east, and in like manner sets in the 2nd portal in the west of the heaven. And on that day the night amounts to 11 parts, and the day to 7 parts. And the sun rises on that day from that 2nd portal, and sets in the west of the 2nd portal, and returns to the east into the 1st portal for 130 mornings, and sets in the 1st portal in the west of the heaven. And on that day the night becomes longer, and amounts to the double of the day, and the night amounts exactly to 12 parts, and the day to 6. And the sun has therewith traversed the divisions of his orbit, and turns again on those divisions of his orbit, and enters the portal 30 mornings, and sets also the west opposite to it. And on that night the night decreased in length by a 9th part, and the night has become 11 parts, and the day 7 parts. And then the sun has returned and entered into the 2nd portal in the east, and returns to those his divisions of his orbit for 30 mornings, rising and setting. And on that day the night decreases in length, and the night amounts to 10 parts, and the day to 8. And on that day the sun rises from the portal, and sets in the west, and returns to the east, and rises in the 3rd portal for 130 mornings, and sets in the west of the heaven. Okay, so basically he's taking you month by month through the Israelite calendar, and how the sun reacts and the moon react to each other throughout the 30-day periods. In that day the night decreases and amounts to 9 parts, and the day to 9 parts, and the night is equal to the day, and the year is exactly as to his days 364. And the length of the day and of the night, and the shortness of the day and of the night, arises through the course of the sun they are separated. So it comes that its course becomes daily longer and its course nightly shorter. And this is the law and the course of the sun, and his return as often as he returns 60 times, and rises the great luminary, which is named the sun, forever and ever. And that which thus rises is the great luminary, and is so named according to its appearance, according as the Lord commanded. And as he rises, so he sets and decreases not, and rests not, but runs day and night, and his light is sevenfold brighter than that of the moon. But as regard size, they are both equal. Okay, so now we're getting some more information. The book of Enoch is saying, further, the Watchers giving this information, that the sun is brighter, 7 times brighter than the moon, but that their overarching mass is the same. That's not what science tells us, but let the word of God be true and every man a liar. Most High, through the word of Enoch, is letting us know that the sun and the moon are exactly the same size. Okay, this is truth. Chapter 73. And after this law, I saw under another law dealing with the smaller luminary, which is named the moon. Now he says smaller luminary, he's talking about smaller light. Not smaller in size, but smaller in light. And her circumference is like the circumference of heaven, and her chariot is which she rides is driven by the wind, and light is given to her in measure. And her rising and setting changes every month. And her rising and setting change every month, and her days are like the days of the sun. And when her light is uniformed, it amounts to the 7th part of the light of the sun. And thus she rises. And her first phase in the east comes forth on the 30th morning. And on that day she becomes visible, and constitutes for you the first phase of the moon on the 30th day, together with the sun in the portal where the sun rises. And the 1/2 of her goes forth by a 7th part, and her whole circumference is empty, without light, with the exception of 1/7 part of it, and the 14th part of her light. And when she receives 1/7 part of the light, and when she receives 1/70th part of the half of her light amounts to 1/70th part and the half thereof. And she sets with the sun, and when the sun rises, the moon rises with him, and receives the half of 1 part of light. And in the night, in the beginning of her morning, in the commencement of the lunar day, the moon sets with the sun, and is visible that night with the 14 parts and the half of 1 of them. And she rises on the day with exactly a 7th part, and comes forth and recedes from the rising of the sun, and in her remaining days she becomes bright in the remaining 13 parts. Chapter 74. And I saw another course, a law for her, and how according to that law she performs her monthly revolution. And all these Uriel, the holy angel who is leader of them, all showed to me, and their positions, and I wrote down their positions as he showed them to me. And I wrote down their months as they were, and the appearance of their lights, until 15 days were accomplished. In single 7/7th parts she accomplishes all her light in the east, and in a single 70th part accomplishes all her darkness in the west. And in certain months she alters her settings, and in certain months she pursues her own peculiar course. In 2 months the moon sets with the sun. In those 2 middle portals, the 3rd and the 4th, she goes forth for 7 days, and turns about, and returns again through the portal where the sun rises, and accomplishes all her light. And she recedes from the sun, and in 8 days enters the 6th portal, from which the sun goes forth. And when the sun goes forth from the 4th portal, she goes forth 7 days, until she goes forth from the 5th, and turns back again in 7 days into the 4th portal, and accomplishes all her light. And she recedes and enters into the 1st portal in 8 days, and she returns again in 7 days into the 4th portal, from which the sun goes forth. Thus I saw their position, how the moons rose and the sun set in those days. And if 5 years are added together, the sun has an overplus of 30 days. And all the days which add to it for one of those 5 years, when they are full, amount to 364 days. See, the Hebrew calendar is 364 days. But the Gregorian white man's calendar is 365 days. So they're off. Okay, and that's the reason why it's hard for people to recognize when our Sabbaths and our other days are, because we're off of schedule. And it's not going to be until the Most High comes back to Israel before we get back our heritage and our feast days and everything else, because we're off, because we've been using the wrong calendar for hundreds of years. And all those days which add to it for one of those 5 years, when they are full, amount to 364 days. And the overplus of the sun and of the stars amounts to 6 days. In 5 years, 6 days every year come to 30 days, and the moon falls behind the sun and the stars to the number of 30 days. And the sun and the stars bring in all the years exactly, so that they do not advance or delay their position by a single day unto eternity, but complete the years with perfect justice in 364 days. In 3 years there are 1,092 days, and in 5 years 1,820 days, so that in 8 years there are 2,920 days. So that in 8 years there are 2,912 days. For the moon alone, the days amount in 3 years to 1,062 days, and in 5 years she falls 50 days behind, to the sum of 1,763. To the sum of 1,770. There is 5 to be added, 1,062 days. And in 5 years there are 1,770 days, so that for the moon the days is 8 years amount to 2,832 days. For in 8 years she falls behind to the amount of 80 days. All the 17 days she falls behind in 8 years are 80. And the year is accurately completed in conformity with their world stations and the station of the sun, which rise from the portals through which the sun rises and sets 30 days. Okay, we're going to pause there for a second. So these laws of the luminaries in which the Most High taught Enoch was so that he could understand the days, the months, and the years, so that it could be understood the feast days in the future and so forth. Okay, this is how we know, even Israelites today, when we wake up to this truth, that we don't completely understand when the days of the feast occur. And the reason why is because once we lost our heritage, once we drove out of Israel in 70 AD, keeping track of the dates and the feast dates and the feast times was extremely difficult. We ultimately lost it. Okay, so any Israelite telling you they know exactly the feast days, they know exactly, you know, all these other dates of our feasts and our celebrations is not true. Okay, in the Bible, in previous videos, we discovered that the Most High was going to give us back our understanding of dates and times, feast days, and so forth, when He leads us out of America, aka Babylon, and brings us back into our land. Then He will give us back our heritage and the understanding of our calendars. Okay? Because this is way too complicated for us now, because we're already off. So in the Bible it says that He's going to give it back to us once we leave this place and are in our rest. Then He'll give us back the understanding of our own Hebrew calendar. Chapter 75. And the leaders of the heads of thousands who are placed over the whole creation and over all the stars have also to do with the 4 intercalary days, being inseparable from their office according to the reckoning of the year. And these render service on the 4 days which are not reckoned in the reckoning of the year, and owing to them men go wrong therein. For those luminaries truly render service on the world stations, one in the first portal, one in the third portal of the heaven, one in the fourth portal, and one in the sixth portal. And the exactness of the year is accomplished through its separate 364 stations. For the signs and the times and the years and the days the angel Uriel showed to me, whom the Lord of glory has set forever over all the luminaries of the heaven, in the heaven and in the world. And they should rule on the face of the heaven and be seen on the earth, and be leaders for the day and the night, and the sun, moon, and stars, and all the ministering creatures which make their revolution in all those chariots of the heaven. In like manner 12 doors Uriel showed me, open in the circumference of the sun's chariot in the heaven, through which the rays of the sun break forth, and from them is warmth diffused over the earth, when they are opened at their appointed seasons, and for the winds and the spirit of the dew when they are opened, standing upon in the heavens at the ends. As for the 12 portals in the heaven at the ends of the earth, out of which go forth the sun, moon, and stars, and all the works of heaven in the east and in the west. Why it says 12 portals, again, because 6 are on the west and 6 portals are on the east. Totaling 12 portals. There are many windows open to the left and right of them, and one window at its appointed season produces warmth, corresponding as these do to those doors from which the stars come forth according as he has commanded them, and wherein they set corresponding to their number. And I saw chariots in the heavens, running in the world, above those portals in which revolve the stars that never set. And one is larger than all the rest, and it is that makes its course through the entire world. Chapter 76. And at the ends of the earth I saw 12 portals, open to all the quarters of heaven, from which the winds go forth and blow over the earth. 3 of them are open on the face of the east of the heavens, and 3 in the west, and 3 are in the south of the heaven, and 3 on the north. Okay, so before he was talking about the 12 portals, 6 in the west and 6 in the east, that the moon and the sun go through in order for the days and the seasons. Now he's talking about other portals that have to do with wind and so forth. So there are different types of portals he's going into now. And 3 first are those of the east, and 3 are the north, and 3 are of those on the left of the south, and 3 of the west. Through 4 of these come winds of blessing and prosperity, and from those 8 come hurtful winds. When they are sent, they bring destruction on all the earth, and on the water upon it, and on all who dwell therein, and on everything which is in the water, and on the land. And the first wind from those portals, called the east wind, comes forth through the first portal, which is in the east, inclining toward the south. From it come forth desolation, drought, heat, and destruction. Okay, so the Most High letting us know that these superstorms, these crazy weather fronts, the heat waves, the droughts, all these calamities is not some kind of natural occurrence. Okay, it's not the footprint of man or some sort of crazy stuff the white man says. This stuff comes from the Most High. He sends these winds through certain portals to cause havoc on the earth as a form of punishment of those who dwell on the earth. Okay, that's the truth. It's not climate change. It's not man-made, other than the fact that man's sin is why the Most High is doing what he's doing. And through the second portal in the middle comes what is fitting, and from it there come rain and fruitfulness and prosperity and dew. And through the third portal, which lies toward the north, come cold and drought. And after these come forth the south winds through 3 portals. Through the first portal of them, inclining to the east, comes forth a hot wind. And through the middle portal next to it, there come forth fragrant smells, and dew and rain, and prosperity, and health. And through the third portal, lying to the west, comes forth dew and rain, locust, and desolation. And after these, the north winds. From the seventh portal in the east come dew and rain, locust, and desolation. And from the middle portal comes in a direct direction health and rain and dew and prosperity. And through the third portal in the west come cloud and auroral frost and snow and rain and dew and locust. And after these 4 are the west winds. Through the first portal adjoining the north come forth dew and hour frost and cold and snow and frost. And from the middle portal come forth dew and rain and prosperity and blessing. And through the last portal, which adjoins the south, come forth drought and desolation and burning and destruction. And the 12 portals of the four quarters of the heaven are therewith completed, and all their laws, and all their plagues, and all their benefactions have I shown to thee, my son Methuselah. Okay. Chapter 77. And the first quarter is called the east, because it is the first, and the second the south, because the Most High will descend there. Okay. That is another big hint from the book of Enoch. He said right there that the Most High, when he comes down, is going to descend from the south. From the south. Not descending from the North Pole, he's descending from the south of the world. Very interesting. Very interesting indeed. Yea, there in quite a special sense will he who is blessed forever descend. So he's coming to the south. And the west quarter is named the diminished, because there all the luminaries of the heaven wane and go down. And the fourth quarter, named the north, is divided into three parts. The first of them is the dwelling of man, and the second contains sea of water, and the abyss, and forests, and rivers, and darkness, and clouds. And the third part contains the garden of righteousness. I saw 7 high mountains, higher than all the mountains which are on the earth, and thence come 4 hour frost, and days, seasons, and years pass away. I saw 7 rivers on the earth, larger than all the rivers. One of them coming from the west pours its waters into the great sea, and these 2 come from the north to the sea, and pour their waters into the Erythraean Sea in the east. And the remaining 4 come forth on the side of the north to their own sea, 2 of them to the Erythraean Sea, and 2 into the great sea, and discharge themselves there, and some say into the desert. 7 great islands I saw in the sea and in the mainland, 2 in the mainland, and 5 in the great sea. Also take note, Enoch is very descriptive. Okay, for all those who don't believe the book of Enoch is correct or true or whatever, he's very descriptive, just like the Bible is very descriptive. Okay, they're naming seas, they're naming land masses. He's very descriptive. This is, I mean, you can't make this stuff up. The so-called white man changed the names, changed the seasons, changed the Hebrew calendar. He did everything he could to make it more difficult to understand the Bible and the book of Enoch and other such spiritual books. But the Most High is giving us this information back little by little. Praise be to Yah. Chapter 78. And the names of the sun are the following. The first are Zarias, and the second Tomas. And the moon has 4 names. The first name is Asanya, and the second Abla, and the third Benas, and the fourth Irei. These are the 2 great luminaries. Their circumference is like the circumference of the heaven, and the size of the circumference of both is alike, meaning they're both the same size. In the circumference of the sun there are 7 portals of light, which are added to it more than to the moon, and in indefinite measures it is a transferred unto the 7th portal of the sun is exhausted. And they set and enter the portals of the west, and make their revolution by the north, and come forth through the eastern portal, the eastern portals, on the face of the heaven. And when the moon rises 1/14 part appears in the heaven, and the light becomes full in her. On the 14th day she accomplishes her light, and the 15th parts of light are transferred to her until the 15th day, when her light is accomplished, according to the sign of the year, and she becomes 15 parts, and the moon grows by the addition of 14 parts. And in her waning the moon decreases on the first day to 14 parts of her light, and the second to 13 parts of light, on the third to 12, on the fourth to 11, on the fifth to 10, on the sixth to 9, on the seventh to 8, on the 8th to 7, on the 9th to 6, on the 10th to 5, on the 11th to 4, on the 12th to 3, on the 13th to 2, on the 14th to the half of the 7th, and all her remaining light disappears wholly on the 15th. Those with ears, let them hear. Those with eyes, let them see. What the Most High is referring to in regards to the luminaries. And in certain months, the month has 29 days, and once 28. And Uriel showed me another law, when light is transferred to the moon, and on which side it is transferred to her by the sun. During all the period during which the moon is growing in her light, she is transferring it to herself when opposite to the sun. During 14 days her light is accomplished in the heaven, and when she is illumined throughout, her light is accomplished full in the heaven. And on the first day she is called the new moon, for on that day the light rises upon her. She becomes full moon exactly on the day when the sun sets in the west, and from the east she rises at night, and the moon shines the whole night through until the sun rises over against her, and the moon is seen over against the sun. On the side whence the light of the moon comes forth, there again she winds until all the light vanishes, and all the days of the month are at an end, and her circumference is empty, void of light. And 3 months she makes of 30 days, and at her time she makes 3 months of 29. Let me start over. We're on verse 13. And 3 months she makes of 30 days, and at her time she makes 3 months of 29 days each, in which she accomplishes her wanting in the first period of time, and in the first portal for 177 days. And in the time of her going out she appears for 3 months of 30 days each, and for 3 months she appears of 29 each. At night she appears like a man for 20 days each time, and by day she appears like the heaven, and there is nothing else in her save her light. Praise be to Yah. Chapter 79. And now, my son, I have shown thee everything, and the law of all the stars of the heaven is completed. And he showed me all the laws of these for every day, and for every season of bearing rule, and for every year, and for its going forth, and for the order prescribed to it every month and every week, and the waning of the moon, which takes place in the 6th portal, for in the 6th portal her light is accomplished, and after that there is the beginning of the waning. And the waning which takes place in the 1st portal is in its season until 170 days are accomplished, reckoned according to weeks, 25 weeks and 2 days. She falls behind the sun and the order of the stars exactly 5 days in the course of one period. And when this place which thou seest has been traversed, such is the picture and sketch of every luminary which Uriel the archangel, who is their leader, showed unto me. And in those days the angel Uriel answered and said to me, Behold, I have shown thee everything, Enoch, and I have revealed everything to thee, that thou shouldest see this sun and this moon and the leaders of the stars of the heaven, and all those who turn them, their task and times and departures. And the days of the sinners, the year shall be shortened, and their seed shall be tardy on their lands and fields, and all things on the earth shall alter and shall not appear in their time. And the rain shall be kept back, and the heaven shall withhold it. And in those times the fruits of the earth shall be backward, and shall not grow in their time. And the fruits of the trees shall be withheld in their time. And the moon shall alter her order and not appear at her time. And in those days the sun shall be seen, and he shall journey in the evening on the extremity of the great chariot in the west, and shall shine more brighter than accords with the order of light. And many chiefs of the stars shall transgress the order prescribed, and these shall alter their orbits and task, and not appear at their seasons prescribed to them. And the whole order of the stars shall be concealed from the sinners, and the thoughts of those on the earth shall err concerning them, and they shall be altered from all their ways. Yea, they shall err and take them to be gods, and evil shall be multiplied upon them, and punishment shall come upon them, so as to destroy them all. Or should I say, so as to destroy all. Okay, so basically what the Most High is letting us know through the book of Enoch is that in the last days, okay, when the Most High takes us to the holy mountain, to the place of protection, and the wicked are basically left on the earth to go through all the trials and tribulation, the 7-year great tribulation, that the sun, the moon, the stars, all of them are going to be acting crazy. All the sun, moon, and stars, they're going to be doing their own thing, doing their own times, coming out when they want to, not appearing when they don't want to. They're going to basically be able to do their own thing. And the people on the earth are going to look at the stars and the moon and the sun acting strangely, and they're going to take them as gods. They're going to be like, look at the sun, is doing its own thing, is moving backwards, moving left, is moving right, is appearing, is not appearing. They're alive. They must be gods. Okay? And so they're going to start to worship the sun, the moon, the stars, even more than they do today. And so the Most High is going to use that as an accusation to destroy them all, to wipe them off the face of the fucking earth. Okay, and this is what he's talking about to Enoch, letting him know what the last days are going to look like, what's going to happen in the last days, giving him all the information way before for this future generation that we're living in right now. This is the Lampshades Bible Study Series. My name is Priest of the Most High, Sakuma Zingami Lembu. Those with eyes, have them see. Those with ears, let them hear what the Most High is talking about in regards to the luminaries. Thank you for watching. Shalom.
Edomite, the so-called white man, twists this Bible. He tells you that because Yahshua said, love thy enemies, bless those who curse you, because there's no reward in just loving those who love you, but also to love those who oppress you. So the white man tells you that you only must love, that there's no place for hatred, that there's only love, that love is everything. But that's not true. Yes, we love our enemies, but that doesn't mean we're incapable of hate. And that doesn't mean that hatred in all its forms, in all times, is inappropriate. Sometimes hatred is appropriate. What am I saying? Have I gone off the deep end? No. Psalms chapter 39, verse 20 and 22. Well, we'll start at 19. Surely thou wilt slay the wicked, O God. Depart from me, therefore, ye bloody man, for thy speak against thee wickedly, and thy enemies take thy name in vain. Do not I hate them, O Lord, that hate thee? And am not I grieved with those that rise up against thee? I hate them with a perfect hatred. I count them mine enemies. So there is hate with God. Those who hate God, we hate. Those who rise up as enemies to the God of Israel, our enemies. We don't make a covenant with your wicked ass. We hate you with a perfect hatred. Those who hate the God of Israel